Maurice Scott's reaction to Jaylen's heartbreaking confrontation wasn't just shocking, it was deeply telling. What happened between Maurice and Jaylen was not your typical family disagreement caught on reality TV. It wasn't scripted, it wasn't exaggerated for views, and it definitely wasn't something that can be brushed aside as just another emotional moment. This was years of silence, pain, favoritism, and neglect erupting on camera. Jaylen's quiet strength finally reached its limit, and when it did, we didn't get a scene, we got a storm. Jaylen, who has always been seen as the quiet, respectful young man in the background of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, broke the silence that had been eating away at him for years. When he sat down with Maurice, most viewers expected a calm father-son conversation. Maybe even a moment of bonding. But what they got was raw emotion and truth that sliced through the fake peace that had been maintained for too long. The moment Jaylen said, "You never really loved me," it was as if time stood still. Those words weren't loud. They weren't shouted. But they were heavy. They were real. And they were the kind of words you don't forget. Maurice didn't respond with empathy. He didn't respond with understanding. Instead, he responded the way emotionally unavailable fathers often do, with denial, deflection, and gaslighting. He called Jaylen sensitive. He turned the moment into a performance, not of love, but of dismissal. It was as if he couldn't even see the pain in his son's eyes. Or maybe he saw it and chose to look away. Either way, it was one of the most painful moments we've seen on the show. And the fans saw it all. Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter lit up with reactions. People were angry, hurt, and heartbroken for Jaylen. Because it wasn't just his story, it was a story so many people could relate to. The story of being the overlooked child, the one who is always expected to be okay, while others are protected and coddled. Jaylen's experience growing up in that household wasn't one of love and safety, it was one of imbalance and quiet suffering. While Monster, Maurice's biological son, was treated like royalty, Jaylen was treated like a guest in his own home. Or worse, like the help. He shared how he was expected to do chores while Monster relaxed. How he was disciplined while Monster got away with everything. And how Maurice stood by and let it happen. That kind of favoritism doesn't just hurt, it leaves scars. Scars that Jaylen carried silently for years until he couldn't anymore. And then there's Kimmy. Oh, Kimmy. Once seen as the calm, strong woman who held the family together, her silence in this entire situation has been deafening. She didn't step in. She didn't protect Jaylen. And now viewers are wondering if she ever really saw what was happening under her own roof. Her past comments defending Monster, her lack of action, and even her attack on Melody at the reunion, all of it is being rewatched with a different lens. A lens that shows a woman who may have been more concerned with maintaining an image than with confronting the truth. Kimmy's comments about Melody's appearance, her BBL, her surgeries, those weren't just low blows. They were distractions. Distractions from the fact that her own family was falling apart. That her own stepson was emotionally breaking. And that she had played a part in it by choosing to stay silent. Silence can be just as damaging as words. And in this case, her silence screamed compliance. The reunion stage wasn't just a recap of the season. It became a revelation. Fans began putting the pieces together. The favoritism, the neglect, the gaslighting, it all came crashing into view. Jaylen wasn't just another cast member. He had become the emotional center of the show, the one whose truth shattered the carefully built facade the family had maintained. And when he posted on Instagram later that night, saying, "Love is not enough sometimes," it felt like the final gut punch. It was short, it was quiet, but it was real. And it resonated deeply with everyone who had ever felt unloved or unseen. The reaction was instant. Thousands of comments flooded in. People telling Jaylen that they saw him, that they believed him, that he wasn't alone. Viewers from all over shared their own stories of feeling like the forgotten child, the one expected to be strong while others were allowed to fall apart. It became more than a storyline, it became a community of people connecting over a shared pain. what makes this even more heartbreaking is that Maurice still doesn't seem to understand the depth of what he's done. When he finally tried to apologize, it felt forced. Like he was trying to smooth things over for the cameras rather than truly connect with his son. The hug looked warm, but Jaylen's body told a different story. He didn't soften. He didn't lean in. His eyes didn't say forgiveness, they said, "I've already moved on." It was a reminder that sometimes, the damage can't be undone with a simple apology, and yet, there is still more fallout coming. Because the big question now is, what happens when Monster finally learns the truth? When he sees how Jaylen felt all these years? When he realizes that while he was being protected and pampered, his brother was drowning? That's a conversation that hasn't happened yet, but when it does, it could either bring them closer or break them apart forever. Fans are now demanding accountability from everyone involved. From Maurice, from Kimmy, and even from Carlos King, the producer of the show. People are calling him out, asking why he hasn't addressed the emotional toll this storyline is having on the cast, especially on Jaylen. There are even whispers that the show might be changing direction. That Jaylen might be given his own platform, a space where he can tell his story on his own terms, away from the chaos, and maybe that's what he needs. Maybe it's time for Jaylen to step away from the family that failed to protect him, and build something new for himself. Something real. Something healing. Because right now, staying in that space is only reopening wounds. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away. The tragedy in all of this is that it could have been avoided. If Maurice had taken the time to be present. If Kimmy had stepped in and spoken up. If anyone had asked Jaylen how he was really feeling. But no one did. And now, everyone is paying the price. The family's image is shattered. Their dynamics are exposed. And the audience is no longer watching with entertainment, they're watching with heartbreak. This entire situation highlights something much bigger than just a reality TV moment. It speaks to the emotional labor that children in blended families often carry. The way love can feel conditional. The way attention is given to the loudest child while the quiet one fades into the background. Jaylen's story is not unique. But it's rare to see it told so honestly, so painfully, and so publicly. Now, the pressure is on Kimmy more than ever. The fans are waiting. Will she finally step up and say, enough is enough? Will she protect Jaylen the way she should have years ago? Or will she continue to stay silent, allowing the damage to continue? This is her moment. And the world is watching, and what about Maurice? Can he even see the impact of his actions? Or is he too deep in denial to change? His confused, disoriented reaction to Jaylen's pain says everything. It's not that he didn't care, it's that he didn't know. And not knowing is exactly the problem. Fathers can't be absent emotionally and expect their children to be okay. Work and providing don't replace connection and love. And Maurice is learning that lesson far too late, but the biggest heartbreak of all is Jaylen. A young man who carried so much emotional weight in silence. Who tried to be the strong one, the good one, the quiet one. Until he couldn't anymore. And when he finally spoke up, the world listened. Because his story is the story of every child who was made to feel like a burden. Every child who wasn't given the same love. Every child who was told to stop being so sensitive when they finally cried out for help. This isn't just about TV anymore. It's about real people, real pain, and real consequences. The show can no longer hide behind editing and storylines. The truth is out. And the audience won't forget it. What comes next is uncertain. Will this family find a way to heal? Will they do the hard work of facing their past and making real changes? Or will they continue to perform for the cameras while their relationships crumble behind the scenes? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear, Jaylen deserves better. He deserves love that doesn't hurt. He deserves recognition that isn't forced. And he deserves a future that isn't defined by the failures of the adults around him. To everyone watching, let this be a reminder, emotional neglect is real. And it's just as damaging as any physical wound. Don't wait until your child breaks on national TV to realize you've failed them. Start listening. Start showing up. Start healing. Because children remember. And one day, they speak, and when they do, it's not a moment. It's a reckoning.